Ichigo Awakens by Talach, Chapter 13, Entering Soul Society. Entering Soul Society. Kurosaki Clinic. The day had finally come, 2 weeks of preparations, and now it was time to put it to the test. It was after the fireworks festival, one last day of fun, one last day of safety, one last day before they went out to save Rukia. Ichigo softly stroked his little sister's heads as they rested on his lap, wanting to spend a little more time with their big brother. It took some stern and rather mean lectures from family and friends to remind the twins that they were more of a liability at their level, so they settled for staying with their brother for one more night, which Ichigo obliged. It wasn't until midnight that Kon, in his stuffed lion body, came up to Ichigo and exposed the opening into his body to let Ichigo know that it was time. Wordlessly, he took the small green pill and injected it into his soul reaper body. He gave a subtle nod to Kon, letting him know to take care of his sisters before leaving the house, where his father was waiting for him. "This is a really dangerous mission you're going on, boy," Ishin said gravely. "Some of the captains have been there for almost a millennium, with two being original members. They are powerful and dangerous." Ichigo hugged his father, stopping him from continuing. "Relax, you old goat," he told his eccentric old man. "If anything, I inherited your tenacity. I won't die so easily." Ishin snorted out his amusement. "Damn right, boy," he said, returning his son's embrace. After a second, he separated it and pulled out a letter. "Take this to the Shibai household. They should help you." "Oh yeah." Ichigo took the letter and pocketed it in his shihakuso. "My relatives are on your side," he said with some dread. "Each one as hot-headed and bombastic as the last," Ishin said with a grin, making Ichigo sink lower. But Kukaku manages to keep a lid on them all," he said, returning to his serious side. "Last I heard, he fell out of high standing, but we're still able to operate, so entering Cerate shouldn't be too difficult. Then it's off to the big white tower called the Repentance Cell." Ishin nodded as his boy guessed from the society trivia he was taught, "while avoiding as many captains as possible." "But you are going to talk to the old man while you're there, right?" Ishin clarified, a little nervous about his son meeting Yamamoto, the old captain who held the law in the highest regard, and a bunch of children spitting on those laws will not sit well with him. "I'm gonna have to, Dad. He needs to know," Ichigo said, remembering the stories he heard of the monster called Yuba. Everyone made him despite the self the self-proclaimed god everyone despised the self-proclaimed god more and more. Faced with him, the old man might listen to reason. He then walked off, ready for the mission that would be his first real test in a long time. Urahara's shop. The team slowly gathered outside of the shop, waiting for their allies to gather. And Chad was first to arrive in a sleeveless T-shirt with a magenta line going down the left side and black pants. Next was Ichigo with Orihime and Tatsuki wearing a pink T-shirt with tracksuits and a gray shirt with the high pants, respectively. Yoruichi. How big was he? Was following them discreetly. She then proceeded to interrogate and embarrass the poor girls until they told Yurichi everything about when they were alone together. "Why should it matter?" Tatsuki yelled out while Ichigo and Chad ignored them. Despite how much Urahara wanted details, Tatsuki didn't want to go into detail of the mindless mating, preferring the romanticizing idea of the first time. "Because I want some myself," the dark-skinned noble said, unashamed. The girl's first instinct was to go to their boyfriend and latch onto him. Not to steal him away, she reassured her students, just to relieve some tensions. The girls still glared, but decided to continue this talk later. "I thought we were going to invade society, not discuss sex lives," someone said rather crudely. Many blushing faces turned to see Uryu in the same Quincy getup, but with a short cape and a belt with several silver rods with rings on top. "Don't test her, Uryu," Ichigo warned. "She's quite the multitasker." He took a quick glance at Uryu's gloved hand. "The Celestinitis, I understand, but are you sure about that?" Ichigo asked. not pointing out anything specific. Don't worry, Ichigo, Uryu said, offering a rare smile. I promise not to do anything foolish. Urahara can remove it later. He talked with Urahara the day after he finished the training with the Sendai glove and gave him the chance to study it. If everything goes well, he should be able to remove it with no repercussions. Besides, I need all the advantages I can get to fight the Shinigami. Now that we're all here and accounted for, Kitsuki said, let's get to business. The group followed him down to the massive training hall he had set up, Tessai already waiting down there. No matter how many times I see it, this place still astounds me, Tatsuki said with a hint of nostalgia, remembering her spars with Ichigo in the rocky arena. I know what you mean, Odahi chirped. It's so cool. Your reactions are so kind, Tessai cried out, tears crawling down his face, that people appreciated the hard work that went into the place. All right, enough, Wadahara called out before clapping the and summoning paper-covered blocks that formed a doorframe. Now let's get to what you need to know. The scientist said, getting suddenly serious. Skipping the technical explanation, this door will give you spirit bodies you need to enter Soul Society. Through this, you will enter the Dangai, the realm in between this world and the Soul Society. Keep moving and avoid the Kuryu, which captain spirit which captures spiritual bodies. If my calculations are right, which is always, the cleaner should have made its run yesterday, so all you have to do is charge forward. You have 4 minutes to reach Soul Society. Himself and Tessai proceeded to open the door to the realm of the dead. This place should land us in West Rokan. There we will have to go to the Shiba house. Yoruichi yelled out in her cat form. Ready? Now, she called as they all jumped into the realm beyond the living. First Division Barracks, Soul Society. It has been 2 weeks since Rukia Kuchiki's arrest. The old leader of the Shinigami announced to his 13 captains, in those 2 weeks, we have monitored the Kurosaki boy and continued the investigation. He called out, sparing a slight glance to the few of his captains that he had the utmost trust in. Captain Soifon Kurotsuchi, what have you found? The deranged scientist stepped forward to go first. From our surveillance, he seemed to really freak in 4 areas. The skeletal man said with traces of annoyance. However, when he heads to these areas, his presence actually seems to disappear. Obviously keto, but we've been unable to identify the source. Every time my men have checked it out, they've been unable to find anything. The slender Soifon said. He's skilled, sir. Obviously a danger, she said before our alarms began to ring out. Attention, red alert, attention, red alert. Intruders detected in West Wukon. The alarm called out, surprising most of the captain's attention, and Kenpachi looked ecstatic at the prospect of the challenge, while the blind black Tosen seemed angered along with Soifon. The young Hitsugaya was shocked, while most everyone else seemed to begin thinking on the next course of actions. So it begins, the ancient man thought. What drives you to come to meet me, boy? Prepare yourselves, he announced to the assembled captains. This is likely Kurosaki and his allies. I want them captured alive. The ever-smiling Gen Ichimaru stepped forward. One of the captains Shimoto did not trust. I'll go greet our little intruders, he said, walking away from the group. It should be interesting how things proceed, he said before waving off lazily. End of chapter 13. Ichigo awakens by Taloch. In chapter 14, The Challenge. Soul Society, West Rukon. Ichigo and his friends appeared above the sky, dropping down onto the land that was the afterlife. The collection of empowered humans scanned the glistening white city on one side and the darker, less impressive wood and stone of the area they were at. Where are we? Tatsuki asked while everyone continued to scan their surroundings. Is this really Soul Society? This is indeed Soul Society, the masculine voice of Yoruichi's feline form answered. This is the Rukon district, the place with the greatest freedom but the poorest conditions, Ichigo continued, remembering what he was told a while ago. Apparently, the higher the district number, the worse it gets. He turned to the white city on the other side, and that should be the Serite, home of the wealthiest nobles and Shinigami. And so when we die, Tatsuki started, we either turn into mindless starving beasts hell-bent on devouring others, or just live in a facsimile of feudal Japan? It seems like it, Uri replied, sounding rather disappointed. That's it in a nutshell, Yoruichi confirmed. This is the suckiest afterlife ever, Toski deadpanned. The best hope for people is that they have enough reishi to become Shinigami. And even then, it doesn't seem any better because the ones in power don't seem to care, Ichigo said, a little miffed that this was the place he'd been sending souls. One life to another that was pretty much the same as the last. Maybe it's not that bad, Orihime said, forcing her usual cheerfulness, trying to make the answer to an age-old question of that life seem less bleak. In chat, launch, Ichigo said to his muscular friend. He nodded as Ichigo jumped towards him, and he cupped his hands to give Ichigo a foothold before sending him upwards. Ichigo kept his eyes shut as wind steamed past his body until his ascent ended. He opened his eyes as almost all of the district lied out in front of him, each one becoming worse than the last. He took a glance at Zerete, but was unable to identify any of the squad headquarters. Using his pescata, he would just give him a migraine, but he might not have a choice. He had to find that Yamamoto guy. He began to descend back to his friends, managing a small stream of reishi beneath his feet to slow his drop. Nope, he said once he hit the ground. Society is the worst afterlife. Rukan gets worse and worse the farther down you get. Only thing that matters is how much reishi and money you have. It certainly wasn't easy, I can tell you that, they heard a teasing tone say. Each member of the group turned their heads to a silver-haired man with a fox-like grin. He wore the Shinigami Shihaku sword with a white hori over it with a diamond pattern, a clear sign of a captain. Hello, he greeted cheerfully, something Orochime was all too happy to return. Hi there, she cheered. Who are you? What a cute girl, he said amused. I am Yin Ichimaru, captain of Squad 3. This is bad, Yoruichi thought to herself. Ichigo and Ryu are the only other ones I'm sure that can fight captains, but they have no idea what he is capable of. She noticed Ichigo stepping forward to speak with the man. Ichigo, make me proud. Don't rush in blindly like an idiot. You must be Ichigo Kurosaki, he said, giving his full attention to the hybrid. The commander is interested in meeting you. Feelings mutual, Ichigo said quickly and calmly, trying to get a read on the man before him. You're here to take us to him? Did we really warrant an escort from a captain? It's not every day that humans try to invade Soul Society while they're still alive. Gin's hand rested on his hilt of the hilt of his blade, completely nonchalant and without any trace of violence or ill intentions. Fewer still that could get the drop on Captain Kuchiki like you did. So yes, you do warrant a captain as escort. Ichigo's instincts flared at that very second, causing him to draw his Sanpakuto at the same time Gin did. I shoot to kill. Shinso. Glenn drew out his short blade and aimed at Ichigo in the same motion. Ichigo barely managed to deflect the attack by a fraction of a second. You will be executed after little Rukia dies, he said menacingly, causing Ichigo to glare as he flashed the step in front of Ichigo. You are both criminals after all, he said before their blades clashed, causing a small shockwave. Two sealed blades, a regular katana, and a wasashi. And here I thought I was going to talk to him peacefully, Ichigo grunted, struggling a little against the strength of Gin's blades. Guess that was a pipe dream. Oh, he is interested in you, Ichigo, he said, keeping that taunt grin and showing no exertion on his side. But facts are facts. You stole Shinigami's powers, are trespassing, and no doubt plan on breaking out a criminal. Rukia covered for you, refused to say anything in her defense, and refused to do anything but sit in her cell. He leaned in, and his arms in his smirk grew. She's going to die because of you, he sang, making Ichigo glare. You can have your time with the commander, but killing you will be easier after taking you in by... How do one show? Ichigo quickly said. Gin looked down and saw Ichigo's hand a scant few centimeters from his stomach, which flashed crimson before blasting him back into the serete and embedded into a wall. Gin managed to get a look at Ichigo as the dust cleared. Ichigo raised his hands to give Gin the finger. I wonder how this report is gonna go, he said before the spirit wall slammed down and separated the two. You've grown strong, kid, Gin thought as his squad appeared. Their worried cries falling on deaf ears as he thought about the boy he was monitoring since his birth. Looks like your estimations were wrong, Eisen. He's stronger. That definitely wasn't keto. He vaguely heard his blond lieutenant say something about broken ribs as he began healing Gin. The commander is going to be pissed about this. Back with Ichigo. That happened, Ichigo thought to himself, flexing his hand. Should have expected this difference between sparring with the captain and fighting one. He shook it a few times to get the feeling back into it. It was then that he noticed the looming shadow of a giant with a fez and ponytail sideburns. And now there's this guy. That was quite the display, spiky head, the giant said in a deep masculine tone. It's been ages since someone tried to enter this territory without a travel pass, and even longer since someone tried to fight a captain, let alone gain a captain's attention. Ichigo looked up to the man as they stared down the others. My name is Yubando Ikasanka, and I am the guardian of this gate. There has been no person to ever come through this gate in the 3 centuries I've guarded it, he said with a smirk. You're the first one to actually make me a little nervous about that thought, and the challenge excites me. Sorry to ruin your fun, pal, Ichigo said, bringing his blade up before she didn't add his sip. But I have no intention in fighting you, big guy. He told the gatekeeper, shocking the giant man. Instead, could you be so kind to give me directions? He asked the big giant. My name is Ichigo Shiba. I'm trying to find my clan. Oh, certainly, Jibando said, pleasantly surprised. Most nobles and soul reapers look down on us ghetto folk, which is why those that get out try to get stationed here to make sure they are treated right. The Shiba clan are also good to the people of the Rukon districts, he explained before looking close to Ichigo. How are you related to the Shibas exactly? My father was a branch head of the clan, he said before pulling out Ishin's letter. He told me to give this to Kukagu. Jibando squinted at the letter before he confirmed its legitimacy. All right, you want to head that way, he said, pointing off into the distance. You'll know it when you see a small house with a towering chimney and the banner being held up by arms. Ichigo paused at the description he was given. I would ask if you're kidding, but if they're anything like my dad, I shouldn't be surprised, Ichigo said before turning and leaving. Nice meeting you, Jibando. The giant gatekeeper waved back before sitting down as the people came out of hiding. Well, I do remember seeing a house with a giant chimney stack as we should go there for now. Right, the rest said. Unfortunately, that trip was waylaid by the denizens of the Rukon district coming to meet the newcomers. After Yurichi showed up, Chad almost begged to stick around for a bit. Captain's meeting. What the hell were you thinking? Yamato roared at the nearly recovered Gin. Captain Kuchiki made it clear that Kurosaki was willing to listen to reason and speak peacefully. What you did was mark him as an enemy so he'll respond in kind. Jin winced and struggled under the spiritual pressure the head captain was releasing in the room, affecting some of the lesser captains somewhat. Please, hear me out, sir. Jin managed to wheeze out under the captain under the ancient man's wrath. Yamato relented somewhat to allow the brat a chance to speak. Thank you, sir, he said, getting the air back into his lungs. It has been so long since anything like this happened. It could help to make sure ourselves and our troops don't get rusty, he said, letting a silver-laced fork work its magic. Besides, this will let you see his measure for yourself, whether you think he can be trusted or whatever it is that you have planned. Yamamoto could not deny that he was just a bit tempted to have the boy join the ranks of Soul Society, but guilt of his past actions forbade him from doing so. Depending on what Ichigo says to him, he could have a promising successor if his strength was not an exaggeration. This will not go unpunished, Ichimaru, the old man growled. We have a report saying that the boy claims relation to the Shiba clan, which means they will be using their cannon if he gains their attention. And knowing that woman, they very well likely will. But with the barrier in place, they will probably end up scattered, informed squads. I want them captured alive. Dismissed, he announced as the captains dispersed, each one already planning which Ryoka to go after. Looks like I was right, Captain Ishin. I hope your son surprises me. He thought, turning his attention to the bespectacled Aizen helping get out. That was a risky move, Aizen whispered to his former lieutenant and trusted ally. Even I thought he was going to kill you. It seems to have worked, Gin responded. Now you just have to wait for them to create a ruckus so you can stage your death and take over the Central 46. Then push for Rukia's execution when these Ryoka prove themselves enemies. Aizen smiled harmlessly, completely masking his dark intentions. The Shiva house. A banner, Uryu said, identifying the building. Chimney, Chad continued. Kuku, uh, Kukaku Shiba. Itachi almost laughed out. Arms, Ichigo finished, looking at the bizarre house that his cousin occupied. A sturdy looking warehouse with giant stone arms, holding a banner saying Kukaku Shiba with a towering chimney in the back. I know I'm not supposed to judge by appearances, but what the hell? Tatsuki cracked up laughing, while Chad and Orihime barely reacted too much, with Yuriki getting some twitch kick out of Ichigo and Uryu's freak out. Come on, how bad it is this compared to what you two have seen? She asked while walking ahead. Uryu, Ichigo called to his cousin. Yeah, he replied. Thanks for being somewhat normal, Ichigo said gratefully. No problem, Somewhat normal, Uryu asked, offended. Let's go, Ichigo yelled, dodging the conversation. They got close to the banner when they saw someone wearing a bandana, black vest with baggy gray pants, and matching undershirt, riding a boar with a bunch of goons. Hey, who are you guys? He called out, curious about Ichigo's group, until he saw Ichigo in his Soul Reaper garb. What's a crummy Soul Reaper doing here? He growled, stomping up to Ichigo. I told you to get a change of wardrobe, Ichigo, Uryu called out. I offered to make you a new outfit, but you said no. The raid man tried to get Ichigo's attention, but Ichigo felt this talk was more important. I told you, I don't think I could pull off the whole cape thing, Ichigo said, remembering earlier outfit drafts Uryu made. They'd get in the way of my Zanpakuto in my fighting. Nonsense, Uryu defended. I'd be sure to make it fashionable and functional, not overly long like most people think of capes as. I asked you, the man tried again until Ichigo grabbed him by his face without even sparing a glance. How to 11 to 3 Raiden? Ichigo recited, electrocuting the man in his hand until he dropped the cartoonishly burned man. I'd probably end up torn up and ruined anyway. You know how I fight, Ichigo said, while the man's goons were screaming about Boss Ganju being down. You'd probably spend every other week making me a new cape. I did have designs other than the ones with capes, Uryu mumbled in his defense. How dare you! They heard a voice growl out from above. The group looked at the top of the arms to see two men standing atop them. Attacking Master Ganju like that, the other said as they dropped in front of Ichigo. Ganju safely away with his underlings trying to bring him back to consciousness. They looked like twins except their color and faces. I, I, Koganiku, said the yellow-clothed man with the long face. And I, Shiro Ganehiko, said the white-clothed man with the cleft chin. Cannot allow you to come any closer, they yelled together. They were both bigger than Chad in height and muscle, and were prepared to fight. Leave now or die! Ichigo merely stared at them, not intimidated in the slightest, as he remembered his father telling him about these two, the loyal retainers of the Shiba clan, told him that with Yuriichi and his letter, these two would end up begging forgiveness if they did something stupid. Sorry, but could you let us in? Ichigo asked, pulling out Ishin's letter. I have this message from Ishin Shiba for the head of the clan. The twins looked surprised and examined the letter when Yuriichi spoke out. The letter is real, she said, still in her cat form. Ishin is alive, needs Kukaku to read that. The twins freaked. Yes, of course. Koganeki, Koganehiko said, bowing respectfully to the now honored guests. We apologize for earlier, Master Yoroichi. Sir, Ichigo, Shuraganehiko said, trying to remember the earlier conversation between Hybrid and Quincy. Please come this way. The yellow-dressed man said as he opened the door to the descending staircase. They reached the bottom where it looked like a more proper house with doors and hallways. Wait, as I announced, your just let them in, Koganehiko. The rough girl's voice yelled out, making the man stiffen. Yes, Master Kokaku, he cried, opening the door to reveal a large room filled with tatami mats and a lone woman with bandages on her messy black hair, tattoo on her left arm, while her right was absent, with a loose red robe showing off her ample cleavage. It's been a while, Yuruichi, she said with a tomboyish grin. Holy crap, Tatsuki yelled out in surprise. Her boobs are bigger than Otohime's. Otohime looked down, copying her own boobs, and felt lacking in the breast department for the first time in her life. So then Ichigo noticed. Don't worry, Otohime. I don't love you for your boobs, he said, pulling her in for a hug. I love you for how you make me feel better just by being you, he said, making her smile with a happy blush. And you love me 'cause I'm a confident fireball that kicks ass, right? Tatsuki said, getting in close. Yes, I do, Ichigo growled at her, capturing her lips quickly. Good answer. Quite the ladies' man, isn't he? And Kakuko answered her old friend as the cat walked to her. Yes, although he doesn't have as many girls as he should, Yoruichi lamented, being unable to tease him with her sexiness or embarrass him for being a playboy. So, you had a letter from my uncle? Kukako asked, getting Ichigo's attention again. Yeah, Ichigo said, freeing himself from his girlfriends to hand over Ishin's letter. Dad did say to give this to the head of the clan. Kukako actually looked shocked and read the letter before cracking up. So that's what the old goat was doing. She laughed before rising to her feet and wrapping her lone arm around Ichigo. Welcome to the family, cuz. Let's get you to the Serete. End of chapter 14.